I think the gist of finding a support group like we've talked about, like creating that support group and just getting people together and having them be on your side, I think is huge. But it's also really about finding your own system for that. Like, you know, some people really like the idea that they can kind of do this on the down low and nobody really knows about it, and then they can just say, you know, pop up and say, hey, I'm licensed now, because they don't want to have the pressure of everybody asking them all the time about it. Well, that's fine. If you're that person, don't tell anybody. Just, you know, find the group of people who need to know, or find the group of people who are just going to help you kind of no matter what and don't need to know. If you're the person who really is like, I got to be on a team, I gotta have, you know, I got to be part of a process. Otherwise, I just can't. You know, I find myself just going home and watching TV or something. Well, then create that. You know, make that happen. There's tons of opportunity around. If you look around, people come up to me all the time and ask me questions about these kinds of things. And you know, one of the things I'll say is, well, have you talked to your firm? Like, do you have does the firm have study materials? And people say, oh, you know, I don't know. I haven't actually spoken to anybody at the firm about it. And it's like, why on earth not? You know, like, you should absolutely find out. There's probably, as Josh said, people there willing to help you. But there's also probably study guide material that's just sitting around. Now, some of it may be a few years old because it depends on how big a firm it is and how, you know, recently they've been updating. But, you know, the exam is still 85%, 90% the same exam it was 20, 25 years ago. There's only a few a few issues that have changed, sustainability, a few contract things, some other stuff like that that are really wildly different. The vast majority is still the same. Like, you can use old stuff to get started, and so it's like, check in with people and find out. The other thing is, if you haven't really jumped in yet and you're looking for a way that your firm can be helpful, think about it from a sort of standpoint of, well, you know, I really don't know anything about how the contracts work. Well, offer to be part of the contract negotiation on one of the upcoming projects so that you can sort of find out what's going on and make sure they understand that you're there in order to learn about contracts. And, you know, that you can do some of the legwork of, you know, looking for typos and doing that kind of thing. But in fact, what you're really doing is talking to people, asking questions about why this, why that, why do they care? And you'll find that that kind of real information kind of in the field will make a huge difference when you start reading a guidebook in a very dry sense. Josh, I think, was mentioning trying to sit down and just read the contracts, that he felt very comfortable with CD&S, but not so much with the contracts. When you just sit down and start reading the contracts, man, they're about as boring as can be. But if you've actually talked to somebody about why they want to change a contract, or why one word is being X'd out and another word is being put in, suddenly it has a context, and it's much, much easier to then read those things. I think the same would be true about going onto a job site. Whenever you can, if there's like sort of an old salt around in your firm, somebody who's been around a long time and has a lot of experience, go on the job site with them and actually specifically say to them, hey, look, I'm, you know, coming up to you know, take an exam on, you know, building design and construction systems. You know, I just want to walk around with you and look at different materials. You know, tell me what you know, and talk to the contractors. The contractors love telling architects about what they should know. And it's a really great way of making more rapport, but also getting real information about you know, the kind of how they see the world. And that's just as important on a lot of these exams: how the owner sees the world, how the contractor sees the world, how the architects see the world. So I absolutely just, you know, kind of jump in is the big thing. Find the one that works for you. And the other thing to say, and I think it's always really important in these moments, you know, in the poll we saw earlier that a lot of people just kind of, you know, they don't know where to start, or they feel uncomfortable. And the thing to say here is, everybody feels uncomfortable and nobody knows where to start. You just got to start. And the corollary that goes with that is, you can very, very easily take one of these exams that you feel reasonably positive about, and then it turns out you fail it. And it turns out because there was some weird thing in the vignette, or you got a bunch of questions on contracts that contracts you didn't know about, or like things you can just get an unfortunate grouping of questions. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Think of this as a process, and you're sort of making your way through that process. And if you fail a few along the way, it's not a big deal. The key is learn from that as a way of doing it, and make sure that you are pulling and analyzing yourself as you're going along. So don't just do study material. Don't just read a contract. Mark it up as you read it. As you read the guidebook about the contract, mark up the two between each other. As you go on a job site, make notes about what was being talked about on the job site. Like, do things that actually make stuff stick in your brain, and find those relationships between the kind of real life experience you're having working for a firm and the guidebook type of experience that you're looking for studying. And you'll find that the more that you can do that, the easier it'll be to retain that information, and the more useful it'll be on the exam itself.
Awesome. Well, that's great advice and all, Mike. But I have to say that I think the thing that I got from this was that we need to come up with a hashtag for the best ways to celebrate taking an ARE section.
Absolutely.
I think that's the best.
That's totally the best plan. And the other thing to say, like we said earlier, is absolutely talk to your firms. And if they aren't doing anything, get the other licensed architects on board to help you and say, you should be helping this guy. You should be making, making sure that this young person taking the exam is being supported. You should be, making sure we've got study guides around. Like I said, everybody has complaints about the exam, but it's always a positive to have studied for it. It's going to be a benefit for every office. Yeah. So if they're not helping, they should be helping. And we should have that be loud and clear out into the industry.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and end it there. I really want to thank you, Jennifer and Charlie and Josh, for sharing your stories with us. I think you can kind of, we could all just take a moment and just imagine that all of the folks who attended are all standing and clapping for you right now. Yes. They're all on mute, so we can't hear it, but that's what they're all doing right now. So thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. And of course, thank you, Mike. I would just want to say, when all of you who are listening and tuned in, when you guys pass the ARE, please let us know. Email us at hello@blackspectacles.com so that you can be the person who we feature on our next How They Pass the ARE episode, because we'd really like to kind of keep this kind of revolving idea going here. Or if you have a good reward. Yeah, that's the other thing. I think I am serious. We are going to create a hashtag best ways to celebrate passing the ARE. So for all of you tuned in, if you'd like to attend our next ARE live broadcast, which will be on our building systems mock exam, again, you can register at blackspectacles.com/podcast. Just like today's episode, you'll have a chance to ask questions and share your answers with us for live feedback during the broadcast. And thank you, everyone, today for both answering the poll questions, which I think is really interesting, but also providing your questions and feedback throughout the session. To learn more about our AIA ARE prep curriculum, go to blackspectacles.com, or as I mentioned, you can try out any of the free course videos. And for those of you who are ready and committed to start preparing for the ARE, and if you're already an AIA member, as a part of our partnership with the AIA, you can visit a special URL to get a 15% discount for the entire duration of your AIA ARE prep membership. And that URL is http://bks.es/10/2115 webinar, which is, of course, today's date, 10/2115 webinar. And you can get a 15% discount for the entire duration of your AIA ARE prep membership. Finally, please leave a comment below the video to let us know what you think and share any suggestions you may have. I promise we'll read every word that you write and use them to tune our next episodes. So thanks for watching.